Welcome, team. I have a great friend and a great guest to bring to you today. I'm sure there'll be some nuggets of gold that'll inspire you without a doubt. James Te Huna. James, a lot of fight fans remember you as a UFC fighter. I know you as way more than that. But there will be a lot of listeners that tune straight in because of the UFC. So we definitely need to go there. When I record these podcasts, I'm always asking, how can this help someone else? How can this help the listener? You do a lot of stuff in youth work now, which is, I'm sure there's some listeners that could benefit from hearing. You also do some work in coaching at a very elite level. You're currently at the Penrith Panthers, working in the space no one wants to talk about, with the wrestling space, combat space. But there's a lot of mental stuff that goes on with your work as well. So I'm sure this conversation will go many ways, including let's learn a little bit about yourself. But I definitely want to revisit, and for the listeners that don't know, I did used to work for you as part of your team in the fight days. Some great memories. But let's revisit some of them. Here it comes. Here it comes. Be interesting your reaction of some of this. Fighting out of Penrith, Australia, James Te Huna. Is that your first fight, that one?
Yeah.
You're a bad being. So this might be awkward for the listeners on the audio because they can't see what we're watching. We're sitting here watching highlights of your career. One of those fights was before the UFC. I think it was the one to make the UFC. You probably have faced many more microphones than this. I remember we were in Colorado or Vegas for one of your fights, and I remember there was just, you were mobbed in the casino. We were backstage for the weigh-in. Mike Tyson came in with Dana White. Like, the lifestyle you were living was pretty crazy when you think about it. You know? Like I remember backstage in that room, and Mike Tyson walks in the room, and all these world-class fighters, they wanted to meet him, and basically he was there to respect and watch you guys, you know. At the time, I think Mark Hunt might have been the main event on that one, and I was privileged to be a part of your team for some of those camps. One of them, I think, remember you won one fight you knocked a guy out with an uppercut like 47 seconds into a fight. Was that in Colorado, I think? Yeah. And even if I could share part of that journey, you also enjoy what you do. Like that journey had a lot of challenges for that fight, remember? But also, you enjoyed what you did to the point, if I could share with the listeners, these flashbacks are coming after watching that video. The morning of the fight, you and your brother got us all out in the backyard because you hired this big house and you put all your team up in this house, and you pumped the music. out of one of the cars. I think it might have even been Bob Marley music. It was so mellow. But you actually played sparring. If you could play sparring, for some listeners that have never sparred, you got out there, you all put your mouth guards and your headgears on. Honestly, I was watching going, this is like kids in the backyard playing footy. You guys just said, right, let's go out, and you had a little punch. But your brother was deliberately doing what was going to happen that night with your opponent, and you hit your brother with an uppercut. And I remember he celebrated. Like, he just got punched by you, but he ran around the backyard celebrating because he knew that was the punch that would win the fight. And we jumped in the cars. We go to the stadium. We're talking like hundreds of millions of viewers. Like, this is big. We go to the stadium with Bob Marley on in the car, and you get in this focused zone where, like, you're not talking to any of us, but you're just in your little space. And then you went out there and you knocked him out in 47 seconds with the same punch that you hit your brother with that morning. What type of memories does that bring back to you? Because it was great memories for me.
The memory that stands out the most is the environment that I was in. The coaches that are around me, yourself, and a few others, and the training partners. So that environment played a huge part. That's a massive part of it.
Yeah.
Keep it myself, because I mean, I had challenges, some pretty, decent challenges in the last couple of weeks leading up to that fight, where I guess most people would have not executed like I did.
Yeah.
But my environments leading up to that fight, and the people that I was surrounded by helped me stay focused and visualize about that shot landing.
Yeah.
So that's it. I couldn't have done it by myself.
Yes. No, well, that's great that you remember that, because we didn't even talk about this beforehand. It's only just come to me while we've watched that video. When you talk about environment and the people that you put in place, people may not realize the sacrifices you made for that camp, even financially. So you knew what to do. You know how to fight. The resources, you had to put the resources around you. And I remember it was some quite expense to have. I mean, if I could tell people how much you paid me, that was ridiculous. No, I'm only kidding. But, just trying to keep my price up, If anyone's listening, I come at a high price. But you hired a house, you employed staff, you employed people. They surrounded you. And then the challenges along the way, those type of people were so experienced that they could move with it. There was no panic. There was no panic at all. Even to the point I even rung, it's only coming to me now, I remember getting Tawira Nikau on the phone to you the night before your fight, because people don't know who Tawira Nikau is. He was a famous rugby league player that you idolised as a kid. And I heard that you idolised him as a kid, and you guys grew up pretty similar. And I just felt on that day you may have needed someone else's voice and not mine, even though I knew what message he was about to give you.
Yeah.
And so I rang Stephen Kearney, who former great as well and Kiwi coach at the time, and because I knew he had Tawira's number, I said, could you get Tawira to call James Te Huna on this number? And I remember I come upstairs and said, hey, James, could you answer your phone? There's a call coming through. I don't know what he said, but I do know the message he would have delivered. And that was all just great memories coming back. You had a great team. You've always had your brother by your side. That was crucial. You had someone that you trusted with your life who coordinated all of us. Like, he was like, you trusted him to be basically the CEO and look after everything.
Yeah.
And the focus was on you. And yeah, just some great times, mate. Thank you for having me a part of that.
It's been a wicked journey. That was a wicked experience. That was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
I love that one. And when you came up and you handed the phone over to me, I didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
Until I started talking, and then you explained who it was. I was like, oh man, I don't even know what to say. So he's talking away, and I'm like, I'm sitting there listening to him, And there's a silence on my end. I'm like, oh, oh, yeah.
He was your idol growing up. Why was that?
Because he was just like a hearty man, you know. He was always just through his he had a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And he dug deep and he got through those challenges. And I guess that was something that I always saw, like that tough stuff, that hard stuff to make you get a win, to get better.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't talented. I don't have no talent. I come last at everything. And I knew that to get better, I had to do more reps than everyone else. And that attitude started at a young age, and then I got better from that.
Okay, well, we might as well go back there. Let's go back to the young age, and let's talk about this journey, because you just said you come last at everything. I find that hard to believe, but because I've seen you since. It doesn't matter what you do, you want to win. It doesn't matter if it's in the cage, in anywhere. Like, you want to win in the gym, in whatever. You're a winner. But you just said you used to come last at everything. Talk me through that, because this is interesting.
So I started boxing when I was 12 years old. Prior to that, in school, come last at everything, the high jump, the sprint races, everything, you know. I was a bench warmer for rugby growing up in New Zealand. Yeah, so I wasn't a great athlete. I was happy to be a participant. But I knew I was capable of a lot more, and it kind of bugged me that I come last all the time. So I learned that in order to get better from watching role models on TV, like Mike Tyson and David Tua, these guys, I saw them running 4 a.m. in the morning, putting those hard yards, and I thought, okay, that's what I got to do to get better. So then when we would train as a group or by myself, I always like push myself a little bit longer. If we trained in a group, let's say if we ran for 40 minutes, I'll do 41, 42 minutes. So it was always a bit more than everyone else. If we were to do 100 reps of burpees, I'll do 101. It was always a bit more than everyone else.
Yeah. What got you into fighting?
So what got me into fighting was I grew up I had a lot of learning difficulties. I was quite shy, quite timid. Still am. Still struggle to manage with that. I had a lot of learning difficulties. Had a bad stutter. Was a fence sitter. Was pretty very reserved. I was super quiet. I wouldn't say boo. And I think it kind of like stuff happened at home sort of thing, you know. I grew up in amongst domestic violence, mum and dad, but later on in life I got to learn what dad went through as a kid. And he experienced something shocking that that brought about PTSD, severe PTSD that he had. And so me and my brother, we grew up learning how to manage those experiences that went inside within the family. And I guess like going through school and through primary school and high school was a hard stage for me. Like I was always felt like unsafe or like awkward and just not knowing how to behave, not knowing, you know, didn't want to get judged and stuff like that. And I suffered a little bit of bullying because I was at target to hit. Come last at everything, kind of like felt down, but I knew I was capable of a lot more.
Yeah.
And I like wanted to, you know, do something, be something, you know, get better, like build myself up. And I started doing that. Yeah, started working a bit harder than everyone else.
Mate, I don't know how much you want to share or go into there, but I appreciate you talking about that just then. Like, your dad's a great man. I actually saw him only a couple of weeks ago. He drove past and he saw me, did a U-turn and stuff. Come and give me a big hug. He's such a great bloke. But you just said later in life you understood what he went through. So at the time it's pretty heavy, right? Like it's pretty violent lifestyle you're living, But then you've actually said you understand stuff. Like, is that something you talk about? Because I know you do a lot of youth type stuff. Do you talk about, like, it sounded like a tough time for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it something you talk about?
Yeah, I do.
You do.
I guess like back then when I was growing up, and the past generation too, was quite common to shove that under the carpet and not forget about it, don't bring it up, just bury it and that's it. But the thing is, it can come back and and get you and kind of limit you as well, put some limits on you. So it was I started discussing it and bringing it up and understanding the way things that rolled out during those times, and then through further education and reading and learning and having these chats and discussions, conversations, just everything starts clicking into place, and you get to learn why these behaviors happen, how to manage those emotions, and it's just been I'm still working on it. Our family's still working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still working on these challenges. But we're definitely, things could have gone real bad a number of times, real bad. And I guess through having that like tight family, tight team, we all worked it out together and just kept that love within the family, no matter what we went through, what we experienced, the trenches that we went through. We just kept that love for one another strong, no matter what person was going through some stuff. Yeah.
So, man, that's awesome that you shared that, and it's awesome that you helped your dad and you guys stayed rock solid. Like I've seen it, you and your brother, and your mum, your dad. Like I've seen it. Yeah, where it's hard for me to explain, but like even you and your brother together was just like, it was just something special that the two of you went on a bit of a journey together, and it was a rough upbringing. You said you took on the fight game, but you actually have never had a street fight in your life. Is this true?
Yeah, so 0 conflict, 0 arguments, 0 fights. I was the kid that didn't want to get involved and kind of step myself away from that. If someone wants to put it on me, then I would like back out and just, fight, flight, freeze. That was me to, freeze. I wouldn't know how to cope.
And then you've turned into this elite. I don't mean like local pub fights. I'm talking elite on the world stage, cage fighter, where you had to be a master of many different disciplines, striking, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, whatever, all the little intricacies that go into being elite at that level. But you never had a fight on the streets. I thought that was a great story to share. And now obviously you encourage people not to. You're doing a lot in the youth type space. But let's go back to growing up as a fighter. Idolised, you said Tyson. Who else?
David Tua. Yep. Mark Hunt. John
Alomu.
Yeah.
Did you once tell me Bruce Lee?
Yeah, Bruce Lee. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's something.
Him too.
Yeah. So, talk me through from, say, 12, when you used to avoid conflict, you used to not speak in class, you used to come last. The next, say, 6 years, 12 to 18. There's some pretty crucial years in your development. Talk me through that.
Boxing, I started out with the boxing. Then moved on to the different disciplines like jiu-jitsu, wrestling, kickboxing.
Yeah.
And it pretty much, like, in short, fight training, combat training, it was like a vehicle to be able to, move, help me navigate through those emotions that I'd been struggling with.
Yeah.
So I started out with boxing, and boxing is like a fearful thing, right? Like to get in there and, to punch a bag's one thing, to hit bad pads and stuff. Yeah. But then to jump into a ring and spar or fight another person that's gonna, that wants to hit you and hurt you, that's a hostile environment. That's a scary thing. It still is a scary thing for me. But I've learned over the years to be able to manage my emotions to keep myself safe through practice and training. And it's been a great vehicle to be able to manage my emotions. Give me self-confidence, self-esteem, knowing that I can protect myself and those around me.
Yeah.
And great confidence boost. So it's a great vehicle. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yep.
Well, when did you think I might do this professionally? When did that happen?
I was I was training with Mark. I met Mark Hunt because we were using the same jiu-jitsu coach back in early 2000s.
Yeah.
And Mark was just crossing over from K1 to Pride, having his first fight in Pride. And then we teed up as training partners because, man, there was only like 3 or 4 guys in Sydney that were actually competing in MMA back then, 20 years ago.
Right.
So we teed up and we started training together. And Mark brought me over to Japan as part of his team when he had one of his fights. And I wasn't aware of how big MMA is because here it was still illegal in New South Wales. We had to go up to Queensland to compete because it was illegal up there. Down here, illegal.
Okay.
So we went over there and, man, as soon as he got off the plane, he was like Michael Jackson, man. Everyone's all swarming around him. And the shows there were like, man, 60, 80,000 people in Tokyo Dome. It's pretty full on, you know. That was huge. And the amount of success that I've seen him have. And I thought, you know, man, he's just a great leader. And we had a lot of conversations too. And he's like, yeah, well, you should have a go in there too. I'll get you one fight. I'll get you a go in there. I was like, oh, who, me? And he goes, yeah, you better do it right. And if I'm doing it, then why can't you do it? And I'm like, so I went back home scratching my head. And that statement played on my head for like, you know, for months. And I'm thinking, okay, well, nah, I'm not that good. Then I'll go, oh, maybe he is, you know. So he's planted that seed in my head and just been a great leader for, you know, for me and then the next ones to come.
What about that? He's planted a seed and then it's just grown. Like just those little words saying that you could do this. Like before then you didn't even think about doing it. And then you had a little taste of it. When did you actually make your decision when was your first cage fight? After that, had you already had a cage fight before this?
I can't remember. I think so, around that time.
Because your brother used to run some fight promotions.
Yep.
And you jumped on one or two of those, I guess.
Yep.
Mate, I'd like to go into the pain tolerance because for the listeners that don't know you, like, man, for you to make the UFC, that fight that you had to win, is that the one where you dislocated your shoulder? Was that one? And then...
No. So there was I snapped that, snapped that.
Oh, no, that was in the UFC, but before UFC...
Oh, before UFC, yeah.
Dislocated a shoulder, and was it Tyson's dad maybe put the shoulder back in?
Yep.
In the corner. I remember it was crazy vision. It was like a movie. Here's this guy, dislocated shoulder, trainer comes over, yank, puts the shoulder back in. You went out there and won the fight and earned a contract to the UFC. Is that right?
Yeah, it was like we had one of the fights to earn the contract to the UFC.
That's right.
But it was, I guess, like going through those, you know, hard adversities, like those dislocations and whatever I had. They come from like training, I guess, and you know, because I always come last, even when we sparred, I'd lose that round. If we have a sprint race, I'd lose that round. The first few rounds I'd lose. But I knew everyone, I would catch up.
Yeah.
And then overwhelm or tire someone out and get you at the end.
Because you have this crazy pain tolerance. Like, then your first UFC fight, I remember, we're in Sydney, and there it is. You go out, you snap that arm, there's a kick to the head, and you block the kick, and your arm breaks. You end up winning that fight. They stop the fight when you're punching the guy on the ground with the broken arm. So and tell me what that was like. Like, what was... Like your arm's snapped and you're winning the fight by punching him. Like you obviously knew it was broken.
Well, I knew something was broken.
Yeah.
I knew something was broken when I couldn't even when I was trying to hit him, it was like that. My I couldn't make a fist sort of thing. So it was like a sponge. I was hitting him with a sponge, and he's getting like this on the ground. Get the sponge away from me. But he was gassed. He was tired. I pretty much overwhelmed him from being fitter and wanting it more.
Yeah.
And they heard the ref say, protect yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to stop the fight. You're not protecting yourself. And as soon as I heard that, I'm on top of him. And I'm just going to town with the sponge that I got.
Yeah.
Until the ref pulled me off and he got the
fight.
Got the win.
You just mentioned he was gassed. That was a big thing of yours. You always just outworked people, right?
Yeah.
And that come from years and years and years of it. But you loved it, even like when you felt it in a fight. Did you ever talk to the opponent about, hey, I know you're gassed here? Did that ever happen?
I had a fight with this dude over in England.
Yeah.
And this guy was on a 16-fight win streak.
Yeah.
Ryan Jimmo. He had recently just set the new UFC record, quickest knockout in history, 6 seconds or something, 5 seconds. And this guy had full talents to the dude, right? I thought, okay, well, I'm going to fight this guy. This guy's going to get me a few times. I'm going to have to wear a few shots.
Yeah.
And then just, weather the storm and get him towards the end. So that's exactly what happened. First round will come out. He throws a head kick, hits me in the temple. I wake up as I fall down. I wake up as my head bounces off the canvas. That's when I'm waking up. And he's going like Donkey Kong over the top of me, trying to finish me off, and I've managed to survive. Second round, okay, he's given everything to me, and I'm still here. So you see what else he got?
Yeah.
Nothing else came. Third round. Meanwhile, I'm like talking in his ear. Is that all you got? So he just threw a head kick at me, and
hang on. So pretend I'm him. So I'm gassed. What are you saying to me?
Yeah,
what are you saying?
As you're like hitting me,
as I'm punching you,
yeah, we're like and tied up in the clinch, and I'm saying to him, "Is that all you got? Is that all you got?" So then he'll give like another big effort, and then, and I'm like, "Are you getting tired? Hey, you getting tired, eh?" And he goes, "What? What?" And then he'll give another big effort, and I'm like, tired, eh? Tired.
Eh?
So I'm just here, I like to do these ones through the pot a bit, and it worked.
Yeah. So how did you win that in the end?
He gassed.
He just gassed.
Yeah, he just couldn't keep up with my pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I won it by a decision.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What did you say to him at the end? Like, how does that, like, you stirred the pot the whole time, you win by decision. What's the respect like between fighters once that's finished?
So the respect for each other is something that no one else really understands, because we put our head down for 3 months for that fight. He puts his head down for 3 months for that fight. We make all these sacrifices that no one else really understands except for your opponent.
Yeah.
So like we know, what we've both been through. We've been through the trenches, sacrificed a lot. So we have a lot of compassion and empathy, and admiration for each other, knowing that what you went through.
Yeah. I love the fact that you enjoyed it as well. I know we went through a little period where we said, hey, we've got to just enjoy this, enjoy every minute. Tell us about the walkout. Was that the night of the walkout? Was that the one in England?
Yeah.
For that fight?
Yeah.
So we're going to actually go to YouTube, if I can talk to the crew next door. We're going to go and watch a walkout here, which people could go on YouTube and search. If you're listening to the Audible, just search James Te Huna walkout. Now, this is in front of millions of people, and you've come out in a suit doing a Men in Black choreographed dance with with your crew that you had with you in London. What was the UFC reaction of this? Like, this went viral at the time. I remember it was huge. Like, have a look at you. Talk about enjoying your work. You've come out and danced. You've got your suit on. You've got the swag going. You've got the sunglasses on. What did this feel like, and what made you do this? Was Dana White okay with this?
Yeah, they're okay with it. We pitched it to them, and we told them what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And they were like, I guess we told them, like an hour or two before.
Yeah.
So we kind of put them on the spot. Look, but we've all rehearsed it. It's going to look good. So they put the trust into us because the UFC officials, staffs, they would have had a lot on their plate already. So they're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, go.
So you're in there warming up. You got your fight gear on. You're warming up, and people would have seen you. All of a sudden, you're putting a suit on. What is going on here? Like no one's done that before. So you're a bit of a game changer in fight walkouts. So they're doing crazy stuff like that anymore. I know Ty comes out with some good music.
Yeah.
Ty Tuivasa comes out with. He's even had Celine Dion.
Yeah.
And it comes out singing and smiling, like enjoying that part. What does that feel like walking out in front of 50, 60,000 people and knowing that millions are watching? Like, what's that buzz feel like? Do you miss that?
Yeah, it's exactly what a lot of people how a lot of people describe it as being a roller coaster of emotions. I feel I'm nervous, I'm scared, I feel awesome, I'm high as a kite. All these different emotions I'm feeling. So it's just like a mixed bag of emotions. So I've got a lot of feelings throughout the walkout.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You can't. There's nothing that can replace that, is there? That's what a lot of fighters miss. Like you miss that rush. I'm sure that's why fighters keep making comebacks. Like it's a crazy rush.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
It's a real thrill, eh? It's a real big thrill. It's because you're walking up and you get into this cage and you don't have your team with you. You don't have anyone else with you. Yeah. That door's going to lock and it's just you and the other person that's trained for 3 months and sacrificed a lot to get you. It's scary. But it's fulfilling after you, massive sense of accomplishment after the fight's done.
Yeah.
It's a big fulfillment.
Yeah. I had some years, many years actually, with Danny Green, who came on your team. Came on your team for one of the trips, I think Vegas maybe.
Yeah.
But I remember before his fights, and we're talking world title fights, and he would get the staff together in the room and pump the music up, get them all in a circle and tell everybody to dance.
Mm-hmm.
And so there I am doing me one and only move, my Vanilla Ice shuffle. So everyone had to dance and they all stand around clapping. And I remember saying to him once, like at the time you just do what everyone's doing. I said to him, what's going on here? And he said, mate, I'm the one fighting. Why are they nervous? I don't want to see my team nervous. I'm the one who gets in and the cage, or for you, the cage gets locked. And he said, yeah, I'm the one who's going out there. So I want my team to be enjoying their work as well. So dance, everybody, dance, he tells them, It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. And you took it to another level. You had your team dance on the walkout.
Yeah, well, like we practiced almost every night leading up to that. It was funny because the reason why we done that was we were over there for 2 weeks over in England.
Yeah.
So over there 2 weeks prior to the fight, there's 5 of us in our team. We all training together, staying together. So we run each other 24/7.
Yeah.
And we needed our space.
Yeah.
And we learned from that trip, you need your space. And we didn't have space. So there's a bit of, fighting and bickering going on. And, team was kind of breaking up. So one night, me and a mate, we got together and we were talking about watching entrances or something. And that conversation got brought up about entrance. How about doing entrance? What would you do? I was like, I've always been a fan of Will Smith. Love his movies and music. Yeah. Be cool doing like a Men in Black walkout or something. Always had it in my mind. And then he goes, that'll be pretty cool actually. And that was a green light for me. Yeah, sweet. Do you want to do it? He goes, how? So I went on YouTube and found a tutorial, pitched it to the other coaches and training partners. And then, man, every night after training, we would move aside. We're in the lounge room, push the couches to the side, and then on this iPad, bring up the tutorial, and then practice it for about 20 minutes, and we were all laughing and just, it brought the team together.
Mate, that's so, there's some gold in that because you just said it's so important to have the team together, and laughter does that. Dancing, obviously. You're wearing an Indigenous hat, I noticed. I worked with the Indigenous team this year and I realised there's something really important they did. Every night they practiced their dance that they were going to do pre-game. And the dance has a lot of meaning to them. There's a lot of history, a lot of storytelling in it. And it means a lot to them. And as a performance guy, like I'm looking at it going, you know what? They're dancing at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Like, come on, we've got training tomorrow. And so you're kind of thinking, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, that's not the ideal preparation for training. But then you realize the value in the connection that they had and the laughter that they had and the team, the morale that was built within the team. And you realize, hey, that bit's just as important as the training, or if not more important, depends where you're at. And I think that's pretty genius. You're away. You're basically your own boss. You're the fighter. You're paying all these people to be there. And you realize there's little splinters happening in the camp and you brought them together with some fun, like there's something in that. There is, if there's a team struggling or if there's a team out there that is, you feel little divisions or splinters, then you might be better off doing something fun. I've had experiences with head coaches over the years that, righto, we're not training today. Let's go. We're doing this as a team. Bring some laughter. And you did it. You did it organically by the sound of it. I don't think you were trained up in developing team cohesion and stuff like that. You just did it naturally.
It was just, the way I talk to in a candid manner. So
yeah, you just did it. How good.
Brought it up, threw it out there, and yeah, everyone went with it. Yeah, cool. All right, let's make it happen.
How good.
All right, sweet.
So did Will Smith ever contact you and say thanks?
Nah, damn.
Will Smith, I know you're a listener. If well, you can come on the show anytime you want, Will. But I think he should give you a shout out. Just reach out to you somewhere, mate. Let's go to what you're doing now. You're doing some incredible stuff with youth. It's a passion of yours. I can see it's been through all your influences as you grew up, and now maybe some tough times you grew up. So there's something you really feel for these kids. Can you explain to me what you're doing, and is there any lessons there that listeners can take? So the teachers, the coaches, the trainers, the leaders, the business people that listen, is there any lessons they can take from your passion and your daily work with youth and assisting people in that space?
So I work with male youth from the ages of 12 to 17 who are in out-of-home care, so fostered male youth. They're in a vulnerable time in their life, and they may be disengaging in school or at home, their current places where they're staying. I come in, my services, I come in as a mentor and a role model, and I see them, we do like a weekly catch up, and we go out for a feed, stuff like that, hang out and just build their bond and rapport and just get to know each other. They learn a lot about me, I learn a lot about them, and then we figure out as a team, the young person, the carers, the family, how we can, get ourselves back into something like more meaningful, something positive, because they disengage in a few things. We get them back on track by just basically, finding out what they're interested in, sports or footy or music, or music is a big one, the young teenagers.
Yeah.
Gym work, or just being around men in general, because they don't have a lot of that in their, like a positive role model in their life.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, then they're going to navigate their own way. And there might be a chance where they, don't get on the right path. So I'm that person to come in weekly. We have like a weekly catch up and go for a feed, or, what are your goals? What are your interests? Oh, I'm actually, I love footy. Yeah. I want to get better at this, that. Okay, we'll explain the process, start working out the steps. What do you reckon we do how do we get better? So then they get to work it out themselves. They throw out suggestions. Yeah. I help them through it. I don't tell them what to do. I just guide them through it. And we execute it. And there's little rewards there. And then they see themselves, improving, like, ticking boxes and
Mate,
started having a connection to, footy or music or, and just everything rolls off from there.
mate, I feel how much care you have for them, and then I feel that once they know you care, which I'm sure they do, and you, even the way you said, straight away you go and get to know them and they get to know you and you connect in different ways. You're not telling them what to do, you're being there to support them. You're a resource to them to support them on this life, be a role model. It's so genuine when I hear you talk about it. Like, it's not just a job. We spoke about this before, and for the listeners, if they know, it was quite a few years ago. I'm working with a very elite level team, and I offer you a full-time job, and you knock it back, and you say, "No, I can't do it because I have loyalties to." You had some part-time work in footy with another club that you decided to stay very loyal to people that gave you a crack, even though I felt like saying, "Come on, brother, we go way back." Anyway, offered you this job, you say no because you're doing this youth work, and then a couple of years later, I'm at another club where I say, "Man, I need you." And you go, "Oh, don't know, because I've got this youth work." So this youth work's always been so passionate. But then you did come and help me. And now you still do some stuff. You do some stuff with the Penrith Panthers. So you still have that connection. And because I know the reason I chased you, like, people, we probably haven't gone down in this episode, but if there was 17 rugby league players with your mentality and your training discipline, you never get beat. And I'm serious about that. When I knew you as an athlete, even the way you train through injury, play through injury, like you won fights with broken arms and bones and wrists and thumbs, and like the injuries you've been through, you turn up every day and just train hard. It didn't matter how you felt. When I ever met you, like, you'd come in busted from sparring the night before, and as soon as you turn up to work, you worked. You trained that hard. Your mentality, even the way you balance the hard work with the enjoyment, stirring the pot, but your fighter's mentality, if there was a team of players that had your mentality, you don't lose. Simple as that. So that's why I always wanted you to somehow share that. It's really great to hear that you're now still doing a bit of that, but you never would come over full time. We've tried. Craig Catterick's tried. We've all tried to get you full time, and you would never do it because of this passion of youth work. And I just want to congratulate you on that, because you're making a difference to a lot of lives. You can. I talk to other people who tell me stuff you're doing as well, but even just hearing that from you, like, it's a genuine care, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I guess, like me as a teenager too, growing up, and I was lucky enough to be with my family, but there were a number of times where I found that isolation through experiences, and try to do things myself and figure it out myself. But to have a mentor and a role model there would have made a huge difference, big difference. And there's young male youth, there's a lot out there that don't have that opportunity. So that plays a massive part. It's a big role. It's a critical role to have male mentors and role models.
Is there any hurdles in place? Like, is there any stuff that gets in your way doing this job, or is there anything that, there must be good times and bad times with this job too? Like, yeah, is there any bad times?
Well, yeah, there's some really unfortunate times. There's some bad times, some bad experiences.
Is there?
But it's all a learning curve for everyone involved.
Yeah,
it's all a learning curve, and it's only just going to get better as each day goes by. Each year, every generation will just get better and better and better.
So, what are your highlights in the job? What are the good things? Like, what makes you feel? What gives you the biggest rush? You used to get a rush by walking out in front of 50,000 people. Now, what gives you your job satisfaction these days? What? Give me a highlight.
I like having the connection with the young fellas when they've been disconnecting with a lot of others in their life, and then being able to connect with them and then being able to, teach them a few things and also learning a few things from them as well.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
Yeah.
I enjoy that because, everyone's got a great potential. I mean, I wasn't the, I had learning difficulties. I was a person that came last. I was, I wasn't really much, but I had, I guess, a faith in myself.
Yeah.
And over the years, I was surrounded by some great people like yourself that made a huge difference. So my environment made a massive impact.
Yeah.
So
now you're creating a good environment for these kids. And
yeah.
Oh, mate. So do you train with them? Like you said, you're learning as well. There's a lot of kids into the music. Are you telling me now you have music skills or no?
Not yet. I'm trying to learn from them.
Okay, so you're learning. I dare say none of them have challenged to fight you. Right?
A couple like to banter and stuff. And,
banter, banter only. They wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare.
But it's good for them. Music's, man, just there's something behind music, that's able to connect everyone. Yeah.
Mate, I just want to thank you for coming on. Like I said, if people want to follow more of what you do and look into your career, but also like just you as a person and how much care you have for helping other people, like that's what this podcast is about. So we didn't script anything here. We just chat away, and I'm sure some people got some stuff out of it. One of them definitely is the environment you create, being a good role model, connecting. And you said something there about not telling kids what to do, but just helping them find out what they're passionate about and helping them. There's some gold in that.
Yeah, giving them a chance to, be able to speak and really, let them know that you're actually listening to what they're saying. Yeah. Thanks,
brother. So good, mate. Thanks for coming on. I've been trying to get you on here for years. This guy's so hard to get. Anyway, thanks, brother.
Thank you, man.
Some of the best learning you will ever do will be traveling. Give yourself space, time to creatively think, to learn, to meet people, or take a vacation with your family. Give yourself that time. And there's no better person or people or company to help you than the people at Tripadeal. Their experienced agents will look after you from start to finish. They will plan your flights, your accommodation, your car, your excursions, whatever you need. If you want to plan a trip of a lifetime, Tripadeal is the place to go. Tripadeal.com.au